I'm going to play these two audio clips for you in which Chris Cuomo was interviewing, if you even want to call it an interview, two individuals who are 45 supporters. And I want y'all to listen to how strong that code is when it comes towards PC individuals. Now, the first one's going to involve a PC woman. And after that, her clip plays through, then I'm going to break down what she says. And then I'm going to play the other clips that involves a PC man. And you're going to hear the similarities between both of their responses. Their responses are slightly different, but it all leads back to the same thing.
Kaylee, if the president said, the reason I'm saying these things is because I'm a racist. I know he hasn't said that. I know he doesn't believe that. Hypothetically, if he said that, would it change your support for him?
Look, Chris, this is absurd for you to even ask that question.
Ow.
I understand the Democrats and the left have been trying to paint the president as a racist since June of 2015 when he first came down the escalator.
Why isn't
but
your
he's
answer
not a racist.
no?
It's a ridiculous assertion.
Why isn't
Because
your
it's
answer
ridiculous. I'm
no?
not gonna
I
play
don't
these
support
games where-
racism.
Because I won't allow you to attach a label to the president, even hypothetically, that is patently false and untrue. This
How
is
is
a
it
man who
patently
was praised by
false
Jesse
when what he
Jackson
just
for
said
the work
was
he did for
patently
minority
racist?
communities.
What work he did for minority communities? The
Chris,
First Step program that his son-in-law
nothing-
jammed down his throat? That's what you're talking about? Come on. The guy did the Central Park
that's a
5,
part of
he
it, but
did birtherism, and he just told 4 brown lawmakers to go back where you come from. And you're going to say it's an unfair label, Kaylee? The facts are not your friend.
Of course I'm going to say that. Oh, the facts are absolutely my friend.
But just to be very clear, I asked you that question because it should have been easy for you, Kaylee. It should have been an easy no. If he admitted he was a racist,
The
I would
president's
never
not a
support him.
racist.
I didn't
It's
tell
an
you
easy
he was.
answer.
I said if he said it.
Yeah,
And the
he
fact
is.
that you can't handle the
president's
question,
not-
that's on
the
you, not on me.
president's not a racist.
I didn't
Because
say he
I won't
was.
allow
I
you
said
to
if he
attach a
said he
label to the
was, it
president
should have
that
been a
doesn't
layup.
exist.
If you ask me, would I be friends with Kaylee? Would I have her on the show if she was an admitted racist? The answer is no. Jennifer, Kaylee, I
He's
gotta
not
go.
a racist. I'm
I
not
didn't
playing
say he
these games with
was.
the media.
I'm saying that you got to own the reality, and the fact that you run away from it speaks volumes. But you're welcome to make the
reality
case
is
because
he's
the
not.
audience deserves it. I got to jump.
Okay, so y'all just heard that right there. And that was Chris Cuomo interviewing that Kaylee chick, I believe she's the press secretary. Now we know when it comes to the press secretary, they have been known to lie and lie and lie and deflect on a lot of things. Like, I have a feeling that they are just incapable of telling the truth. The one before her lied and the one before her lied. And it's just an endless cycle. But Chris Cuomo asked her a simple yes or no question, and she tap danced around that entire response the entire time, and she could not say yes and or no. He asked her if the president of the United States, who is still currently 45, came out and said and admitted that he was a racist, would you still support him? It was a yes or no question. Her response was just all over the place, except for what he really wanted to get out of her, which really says to me and to him and to anybody who was watching, yes, she would still support him. That's what she's basically saying, because she knew she felt like she was trapped. She couldn't say yes. If she said yes, then that would expose her as a racist. And if she said no, then that means they will question, why is she working in her position as a press secretary to the president of the United States? So she basically gave a politically correct response in order to save her own ass. That's what she did. And that conversation went on for almost 2 minutes. And then she slipped up a little bit when she was talking about, why are you calling the president a racist? And Chris came back and said, I didn't call him a racist. I said, if he was a racist, and to admit that he was a racist, would you still support him? He never came out of his mouth and said that he was. But in her mind, she heard that. And it was another woman that was on. There was another PC woman that was to the left of the screen of Chris Cuomo, who basically said, if you heard it, it was kind of fast. You may have to go back and listen to it. Who came out and said he is. And then that's when her voice got inflected again. And she said, he's not a racist. And he said, I never said that he was. See, what she was doing was she was responding to that other white lady and wanted to project that onto Chris Cuomo. So she probably felt like she was being attacked at that point, when she really wasn't. And if she really wanted to address it, she should address the other white woman that said that he is a racist. because she was the one that said it, not Chris Cuomo. Now, I'm going to go ahead and play for you this other clip where Chris Cuomo is basically saying the same thing or asking the same question that he asked her to this PC man. And listen to his response.
Then it gives guys like this battle. It happens time and time again, and you guys defend him.
No, he didn't pick a race battle. He picked a battle, and then the left and you choose to characterize it as a race battle.
What do you want me to do when he makes a racist comment? I call him a demagogue because I don't want to get into the business of what he thinks he is. Because in our political culture, if he says, I'm not a racist, then it gies guys like you cover to defend him. But let me ask you, what would you do if the president said, I am a racist? That's why I said it. What would you do?
Then I would not defend him because there's no excuse for racism in America.
Would you still support him as president? You have to think about it. You have to think about whether or not you would support a racist. Really?
I'd have to know who was running against him.
A racist?
Look,
an admitted racist. You'd have to know more.
I mean, you're making
Chris. Come on, man. It can't be that partisan.
These are ridiculous hypotheticals because of the.
It's ridiculous that it took you that long to answer. You're running for Senate, and you got to take a pause whether or not, if he said he was a racist, you'd still support him? Come on, brother. I hope it's a satellite
I'm taking a pause considering your hypothetical. Your hypothetical doesn't even make sense.
How so?
Okay, so you just heard that exchange right there. Now, this one was a little bit different, but it was pretty much leading back to the same thing. And this time he was interviewing this guy. I didn't catch his last name, but he said his name is Chris, like his, but he's running for a Senate position. And he was basically asking the same question that he was asking the Kaylee chick. You know, if he was racist. Hold on, let me go back and run that back again because I want to make sure that I quote exactly what he said because I don't want to mix up the words.
Pick the battle and then the left and you choose to characterize it as a race battle.
What do you want me to do when he makes a racist comment? I call him a demagogue because I don't want to get into the business of what he thinks he is. Because in our political culture, if he says, I'm not a racist, then it gives guys like you cover to defend him. But let me ask you, what would you do if the president said, I am a racist? That's why I said it. What would you do?
Then I would not defend him because there's no excuse for racism in America.
Would you still support him as president?
Okay, there it is right there. So Chris asked him if he came out and admitted that he was a racist, would you still defend him? And he came out and said, no, he would not defend him. And then he said,
then I would not defend him because there's no excuse for racism in America.
Would you still support him as president?
Would you still support him as president? I'm sorry, I had to keep running that part back because, like I said, his wasn't as straightforward as it was with the first person. So I had to go back and hear it again, and I didn't want to mess it up. He said, would you still support him as president? Then entered the awkward silent pause where you had dead air right there, where that completely contradicts what he just said. You just said not even a whole minute ago that you would not defend a racist, but then came back and said a racist if Donald Trump said anything racist. Then when he asked you, would you support him as president still, even though he said racist things, you gave a pause. So basically you just lied not even a minute ago. And he had the pause right there. And then Chris, that's when his voice got intense and said, really? You had to think about that? And you're running for Senate? Like, he put out his position. But I think the funniest part was when he mentioned about the delay. Let me play it a little bit more so y'all can hear it because it happened kind of fast.
You have to think about it? You have to think about whether or not you would support a racist? Really?
I'd have to know who was running against him.
A racist?
Look,
an admitted racist, you'd have to know more?
I mean, you're making...
Chris, come on, man. It can't be that partisan.
These are ridiculous hypotheticals because of the.
It's ridiculous that it took you that long to answer. You're running for Senate, and you got to take a pause whether or not, if he said he was a racist, you'd still support him. Come on, brother. I hope it's a satellite delay.
Right there. He said, I hope it's a satellite delay. The reason why he said that is because he was basically trying to tell him, Chris Cuomo was basically insulting him. When the guy took a pause, he basically Chris is basically telling the guy, I hope it's a satellite delay, basically stating, oh, so that's why the pause was there. So he said, before you know it, you're going to blame it on the satellite delay. He gave him an out, like, to say that. Of course, he wasn't quick to think to say that. He could have easily came back and said, oh, it was a delay on my end, so I didn't get the question, or could you repeat the question? He just sat there and looked at him. And then at the very end,
considering your hypothetical doesn't even make sense.
How so?
How so? When he was asking him about his hypotheticals did not make sense, which it was a pretty straightforward question. And then when Chris asked him how so, he just kind of looked at him like that and went to another pause. I guess it was another satellite delay. But what the reason why I played those clips for y'all is because I'm showing how strong that code is amongst those individuals, and how they'll say one thing and then mean another. Now, I have my issues with Chris Cuomo because I remember last year he had went off on some other white guy at some kind of a beer festival, something like that, and he tried to compare his plight as a man of the J community to black people. Like, it was something, someone had called him Fredo, which is a line from the movie Godfather. And he felt it as an insult, and then he tried to compare that to being called the N-word. And people went in on him, and rightfully so. I was one of them too that went in on. Like I told you on my channel, over here, there is no bias. If you do something wrong, we're gonna call it out, and I called it out too. But I have to actually now give kudos to Chris Cuomo, because he actually, in a way, when he did the interview with these two individuals at separate times, and I think these happened, I'm not sure if it happened before the election or shortly after the election, but it looks like it was more so before. I'm not entirely sure what the dates were because I can't see the dates on the actual video, but it had to be fairly recent. And he basically backed them into a corner, and they pretty much admitted to what we already knew. See, he basically is saying that 45 doesn't have to come out and say that he is a racist. His supporters, if you ask the right questions, back them into a corner, they'll admit it for him without actually saying it. And that's exactly what he did. When he asked them, would you support and defend a racist? And when they don't give the answer of yes or no, they're basically telling you right then and there. That's their code. You just basically saw their code be put on display when a white person talks to them. But it's all about knowing what questions to ask. And your journalism skills have to be up to par when you're doing something like this, because some people don't know how to do it. And then on top of that, you also got to take into consideration that Chris Cuomo and his brother Andrew Cuomo are both New Yorkers. New Yorkers have a talent as a collective to spot BS a mile away. So it wasn't hard for him to actually do this. And CNN, they're not going to get rid of Chris Cuomo. One, because he's a member of the J community, and two, they probably saw this as good ratings for them. They saw this as entertainment for them. They were probably sitting in the control room laughing their ass off while he was interviewing these individuals. If I was in a control room, I probably would be laughing my damn self to watch them slip up and trip over their own words. It's not hard to do. Like, black people could do that. You just have to know what to say and know how to counter it. Because they're going to always be on code. They're going to defend madness no matter what. Now, I will say this. I got a question for Chris Cuomo. Would he ask these same type of questions to Joe Biden or to Kamala Harris, considering their history that we have with them as black people in this nation? With the 1994 crime bill, what was that thing that he signed in 1986 with the drugs, and other things even prior to that in his entire political career. And the same thing with Kamala Harris and how she locked up. I found this out the other day. I found out that Kamala Harris locked up more black men than the previous 3 attorney generals or district attorneys or whatever her position was combined before her. That is insane. But yeah, I asked the question of Chris Cuomo, while what he did with these 45 supporters was good and entertaining to hear and to watch them slip up and sweat, would he ask the same thing to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris supporters? Because we have to do it evenly here, but something just tells me because of the network he's on, he probably would not do it. Or he'll ask some softball questions where they don't have to pump out that kind of information. I'm just saying, keep it even. Because if I was in his position and I asked those same type of questions that he asked these two individuals in the audio that you heard, I would be asking the same type of questions a little bit differently, but it would lead hopefully to the conclusion I'm looking for when it comes to the other side. But y'all let me know what y'all think about this down in the comments.